Hey guys, I figure I would just go live today. If anybody joins, we can go ahead and you can ask questions. For those who have been a part of the Messy Girls, Messy Guys community, if you guys are interested, have any questions for me, you can throw them on here. I just figured because we hit 150 subscribers, actually I think it's 151 now, that we would just kind of celebrate. I know that, you know, 151 isn't like super big to some people, but honestly, to me, I just am so grateful for each person that becomes a part of this community, because this page is not about me. This is about God, and this is about God working in other people's lives. And so each person who just becomes a part of this community truly is such a blessing, because I'm just seeing God work in so many ways. So super thankful for all of you who are here, all of you that are part of this community, and just, making it what it is. And I truly hope that through my page and through all of this, that you are being grown, like you're growing in your faith, and that God is working in your life, because this is what this page is all about. And I honestly cannot believe that so many relate to this message that God has put on my heart, and I'm so glad and thankful for all of you that are here. So thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see what God continues to do in this community this year and like the next year and all that stuff. I'm super excited. I cannot wait to see how he works through all of this. I just figured I'd get on here and kind of talk about like why the Messy Girls Club, and talk about just like what God's teaching me and showing me through everything lately. So a big reason that this is called the Messy Girls Club is because I feel like a mess. I have felt like a mess in my faith since the beginning. I have questioned why God, would want a relationship with me from the beginning and everything like that. And as I continue to grow in my faith and just find God, I realize that other people probably feel really messy no matter where they're at in their faith walk, because I've been walking with God for many years, and there's oftentimes I still feel very messy and just question why he would want a relationship with somebody like me. So it is just something that God put on my heart to share with others, because I feel like there's other people out there as well, whether it be like your past or what you're currently walking through that's making you feel too messy for God. I just want to say that you are not too messy for God, that God is walking with you, and to just take whatever it is that you're dealing with to the Lord. Do not turn from him just because you feel like you're messy. And like God can be there for any of us and help any of us through all that we're going through. So that's a lie from the enemy if you feel like you're too messy for God, because he wants you to turn away from God. But God says that, he created us and that he wants a relationship with all of us. So no matter what's going on in your life, what went on in your past, God still wants a relationship with you today, and just wants to be in community with you. So come to God, and if you are currently following God and you feel too messy for him, leave that at his feet and just come to him with all that you are. And don't hide any parts of yourself, because God can take it all. God is here to help you in your mess, help you clean it up, help you to, make a testimony out of your mess and just grow even deeper. So that's a big reason that this is called the Messy Girls Club. And also because here, like, stuff's not going to be perfect. I'm not trying to be that perfect Christian content creator, because I cannot live up to that. My house is usually messy, my life is usually messy, and a lot of times I'm just in survival mode because I'm doing so much. So to try to have perfect, like, curated content and stuff for you guys, like, that is just not me. So I'm trying to show up here real, open, and honest with you guys, And, because I know not everybody's life is like Instagram worthy or social media, perfect. And that's why I'm trying to show up to you guys like how I am, because I feel like we see so much perfectness out on social media that we need more real life people out there so that people aren't feeling embarrassed or, kind of down about their selves or their Bible time or their time with God or whatever it might be, because it doesn't look perfect. My time with God doesn't look perfect, but I still show up and do it. And even if your time with God doesn't look perfect, show up and do it, because what matters is that you're growing your relationship with God. And what doesn't matter is how perfect it is, or if it looks good in a picture or anything like that, because that's not what's going to grow your relationship with God. What's going to grow your relationship with God is the nitty gritty, showing up no matter what, showing up when you're tired, showing up, when you're having a bad day, and just spending time with the Lord. So that's a big reason also that this is the Messy Girls Club, because I ain't about to show up here perfect, because I'm not perfect. And that's why I need Jesus. And none of us are perfect. And that's why we all need Jesus, is because we're not the perfect people. So, again, thank you for being a part of this community. And if you relate to this message, then it shows that I'm not alone and you're not alone, because there's other messy girls, other messy guys out there, and we're building a community of just trying to grow our relationship with God and, walk with God and do what He's calling us to do, but being honest with ourselves and others that we might not always do it perfectly, but we're doing it because God is calling us to it, and also because we want a relationship with the Lord. A big thing that I have just been learning this year and continuing to learn is to trust God, which behind me is my trust board. So I really struggle when it comes to trusting in the Lord, and I know I've talked about this a little bit on here, and if you follow me on Instagram, I talk about it on Instagram, and if you listen to my podcast, I also talk about it on my podcast a lot, because that is a big lesson that I'm learning this year, is to trust in the Lord, which is not easy, and that's a big thing that I think that God is asking me to do, because I like to try to do stuff by my own power, and He's just like breaking chains off of me. And so that's one big thing that is needing to be taken away in my life, is trying to run my life and not trust God. And so each year I pick a word of the year, and at the end of 2024, I felt God saying trust, which totally makes sense because I struggle in that aspect, and I have grown so much in trusting Him because of this word, and I find so much more peace with trusting Him. So because I knew that this word was going to be really hard for me, I decided to make this board, which I just got a poster board and some stickers, and just made it at the beginning of the year and posted it where I can see it all the time, because I usually am always working in my office at least sometime during the day, so I see that, and it just has a prayer on there that I can pray, especially when I'm struggling with trusting God, about trusting Him. It has my word in the middle, and then it has a bunch of Bible verses and also worship songs, like snippets from worship songs that remind me to trust in God. And when I'm really, really struggling, I run to this board and just read everything off of it. But also, a lot of the Bible verses on this board, I am memorizing this year, which is something that I really struggle with, is memorization. But I am taking time to memorize 10 verses this year, because it's important to me to be able to remember those when I'm really struggling and can't get to my board or get into my Bible. And so yeah, that is nice, because a lot of the verses on there I'm memorizing, so then I can come here and just read them off, and by seeing that constantly, it's helping me memorize them as well. So again, God has just been really having me lean on Him and trust Him, and right now there's nothing too crazy going on, but I am a big way that I'm trusting him lately is I am a part of this Wesley Fellowship group, which is a group that we just talk about our relationship with God each week. And we've been meeting for almost 4 years. And since the beginning of the year, I felt like God telling me that I'm going to have to step back from it, like quit going. And this was something that was really hard for me. And I kept praying about it. And finally, I felt God say, like, at the end of September, you're done with this group. So actually, this Tuesday is going to be my last Wesley Fellowship group. And this has been something that's really hard because, again, God's been telling me this since the beginning of the year, and it's September. And I'm now just realizing, like, I need to tell them. And so at the beginning of September, I told them, like, I really feel like God's telling me to be done with this group, and it's really hard. And as we get closer to the group ending, I have been kind of questioning God and wondering, like, why am I supposed to be done with this? And, like, am I going to backslide? Because this group has helped me grow so much in my faith. I started the podcast when I was in this group, and they really helped me continue with it. I just have done so much through this group. I did have a business with my husband at the beginning of my Wesley Fellowship group, and then God told us to close it, and they helped me through that transition. They have literally helped me through the last 4 years of my life, and helped me to rely on God and take everything back to the Lord and stuff. And so I've been struggling with, ending that, because that's such a good thing. And I'm like, God, but it's so good. But also, like, God sometimes says to us, like, it's time for a good thing to end. Not because it's going to turn into a bad thing, but because it's time to make space for something new that he's bringing into our lives. And that's been really hard to trust him with, because I'm like, what is this new thing that you're going to be bringing into my life? Or, like, am I just going to backslide? Am I going to use, this time for something that's not of you, and all this stuff? And so God really brought me back to my word of the year, trust. And it was just like, trust me, and trust that I'm asking you to end this and end it, and just wait and see what's going to come. So that's been really hard. And I know Tuesday is going to be really hard, saying my goodbyes to the group, because, again, they've just been a part of my life for so long. And not that I'm not going to see them, but this group is just so, you build such a connection with each other, and I'm not going to have that every single week. So yeah, we'll see what God does with that time and how he changes my life through it. But that's been really tough. And also just some transitions maybe coming up in life, and having to trust him that he's going to work it all out. So a big thing I've been having to do every morning is say, God, help me to do what you want me to do today. And help me to do what I need to for today, for the things that are coming for the future. Because I'm really bad at, like, if God tells me something, I'm like, okay, time to do it right now. And it might not be time to do that or worry about that right now. And so I've just been praying that a lot, because there's stuff coming, but it's not time to do those things yet. So I have just been really focused on asking God to help me through this season and all that I do what he wants me to do right now and today. So if you're struggling to trust God with something in your future, and you're worrying constantly about it, but it's like something that's months and months, or even just a month or a couple weeks down the road, sit down each morning and say, God, help me to do what you want me to do today. Help me to focus on what you want me to do today for that thing coming up in the future. Help me to do whatever I need to today, and leave the rest of it at your feet, because that has been so helpful for me. And I know, like, say you have a big move coming up, you're starting college, a new job, or anything like that, it can be hard to trust God, especially when like 6 months down the road, you have to do such and such thing. But you know, just trust that he will have you do what you need to today to get to that point that you need to be at in 6 months or a couple of months or whatever it might be. Sorry about that. My dogs are home and they're pretty loud. So, yeah, that's kind of what God's been doing in my life right now and what he's been teaching me. I was hoping that some people would be on here that they could like ask some questions, but I know it was kind of a last minute live and it was just something that I figure would be fun to do since it's something that you don't get to do right away. When you start YouTube, you have to have so many subscribers and stuff like that, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of celebrate where we have come. But I'm always open to doing this again, so like if you guys are interested in me doing a live again, we definitely can do that, and I could announce it in the next video that I post on YouTube, what days the lives are going to be, so that, and what time, so that you guys can have more of an idea and show up if this is something that you guys are interested in. I'm not really sure if it's something that the community wants, if they have questions and stuff like that. I know that I'm super, you know, every time that you guys comment on a video or something, I like to comment back and have conversation with you guys, because this is not just about me. This is about building community with God. So I love chatting with you guys. I love seeing your comments. I love to see like what God does in your life by watching my videos and what God's speaking to you. That's so cool to me, and I love to kind of chat about that with you guys. And I love to like help know if you're struggling with something, to pray over you. If there's just something going on in your life and you feel comfortable sharing it, I like to pray for you guys and help you guys in any way that I can in your faith journey. And like if you have questions, stuff like that, love to see it, and love that you guys are reaching out about that stuff. Yeah, and I mean, if there's something you want to see on this channel, let me know. It is just about kind of like my faith walk, what God is showing me, different vlogs and stuff like that. The fall weather is coming, so I'm super excited for that. I really feel like God is having me slow down in this season, which is really nice, because that's just something that I need. Summer was really busy for me, and just with all of the content creation and stuff like that, that takes a long time. Especially I work a full-time job and do this on the side, so it can be a lot, but I love doing it, and I love just meeting other people and growing my faith and growing my community with other people, so it's been really cool. I talked earlier about how I have a podcast. So if you didn't know, I have a podcast called The Messy Girls Club, and it's on Apple and Spotify. I post every week a podcast episode. I like to get guests on there. Just this month, I had my best friend on, and we talked about our friendship. We are actually long distance friends right now, so we talked about how we help each other grow in the faith, being long distance friends, you know, how we manage our friendship and stuff like that. So that was really cool. I have one coming up with my friend, and she kind of talks about her journey of just, she's been all over the place. She was going to start college, but felt like God telling her not to, and then she went on tour because she was in the music industry for a little while and different stuff like that, and then she got out of it. And so just a big thing on following God's path for you, and how sometimes there's twists and turns that we don't know about, and just being open to following those, and that not everybody's life looks the same, and you know, trusting God with that. So that's really good. I've had all kinds of people on. I talked with one of my other best friends about our friendship breakup, because we had a friendship breakup in the past when we were younger, and then how we found each other again and how we manage our friendship now. So that was a really good episode. If you're wanting to get into content creation that is faith-based, I have an episode on that as well, where both me and another small-time content creator talk about just our walk with God and starting up content creation, because we felt God telling us that that was what we were supposed to do. So that's a good one if you're trying to get into any of that. I just recently had a friend of mine come on and talk about her fasting journey. She actually lost a ton of weight through it, and we just talk about the different types of fasting, a fast from food, fast from social media, different stuff like that, how to figure out which one God's calling you to, how to do it, how to rely on God through that time. So if you're interested in fasting, don't know a lot about that, has a ton of good information in it, and my friend brings on a lot of Bible verses and stuff like that. So that's a good one as well. There's all kinds. I've been doing the podcast for 2 years, and I just recently, this year, felt God calling me to start YouTube as well. So yeah, the YouTube channel is a little bit newer, but if you're wanting more content from me, I really recommend checking out the podcast, because there's been a lot of good episodes on there. And yeah, I've seen God work through a ton just in different people's lives. I do a lot of solo episodes about what God's teaching me and different things. So if you're a podcast listener, again, it's called The Messy Girls Club, and it's on Apple and Spotify. If you're on Instagram, you can always check me out on Instagram, which is also at The Messy Girls Club. I just kind of share daily stuff and just kind of what God's teaching me. Again, I share also about, being too messy for God, how nobody is, and trying to reach that community. So that's also there as well. And you can always DM me on my Instagram. I love to hear from you guys. Other than that, I feel like God's really calling me to just focus on my calling, and so that's what I'm really honing in and doing at the end of this year, is focusing on all of that and just growing closer to Him. I feel like I have fallen off track a little bit and made my Bible time and prayer time more of a have to do, and I really want to get back to just craving that time and really wanting to spend it with God, because it just centers me, and it just, I love spending time with God. I love to grow my faith and stuff like that. And I think part of the reason is that I've been struggling with my Bible and prayer time is because I'm still in the Old Testament for my Bible reading plan. I'm doing Bible reading plan on the YouVersion app, and I'm still in the Old Testament, and some of that is really hard for me, especially when I'm not diving in and studying. So since I'm trying to read a Bible in a year, I can't really sit down and study, because I only have so much time in the morning, and so when I'm reading 3 chapters, I don't have too much time to study. So I haven't been able to do as much of studying, which that kind of helps ground me, especially when it's in the Old Testament, because I want to learn more, and I don't always know what something is talking about. And so when I study the Bible, it kind of helps me. But I think once I get out of the Old Testament and into the New Testament, that's going to help me a lot, because I've already studied all of the Gospels, and I've studied a lot of stuff in the New Testament, and I have a Bible with margin oh my goodness, lines on the side, and so I put most of my notes in those, and highlighted the verse that goes, and then I highlighted the note that goes with the verse. And so with me reading those, coming into it with my Bible reading, I can just, if I'm questioning something, I can just jump over to what I have already made for notes, and that's easily available for me, so it'll be a little bit easier. And I also find just I love to read the Gospels and just continue to learn about Jesus' story and stuff like that, and so I really think that's going to help me feel more connected to God. I find it really difficult to sometimes read the Old Testament. I know other people do too, and I know it's really important. That's why I'm reading the Bible in a year this year, but sometimes it's just still hard. So if you struggle with reading the Bible, you're not alone. I do too. And it might just be where you're at in the Bible versus the whole Bible might not be, the problem. So you're not alone in it. And again, I like to be honest with you guys, and I have just been feeling a disconnect from God, and I kind of feel like it's also because I've been spending too much time on social media. That can be really hard with our faith walk if we're, going to social media first in the morning versus God, which I don't really do that because I have a time with Jesus set up on my phone where right away when I wake up in the morning, it switches from like do not disturb to like another kind of do not disturb that just is a time with Jesus. And it only lets certain notifications come through, like my Bible app notifications and stuff like that. So that's really helpful. But again, like I'm just feeling some kind of disconnect when it comes to my time with God in the morning. And I think it is just coming back to like feeling like I have to do this and then I have to go do that. And I need to stop thinking about the rest of my to-do list and just really focus on God at that moment. And I think that will help me like reconnect with him some. And I think that also just with everything going on, I've been struggling a little bit too. But I'm really like this weekend, I really just sat and had some quiet time with God, and wasn't rushed or anything. And I'm starting to feel more connected with him again. But yeah, we all go through seasons where we just feel disconnected from God. And I mean, you're not alone if you're feeling that. And I know sometimes like other people, social medias and stuff like that can make us feel really bad for having this disconnect, but we're human, so sometimes we are just gonna feel that disconnect. And I really encourage you to, sit down with no distractions and pray and just like talk to God and get into your Bible and like read something that maybe helps you to feel more connected. Like if you feel more connected to God with the Psalms, get into and read a psalm. If you feel more connected to God, like reading the Gospels, spend some time reading the Gospels and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so also I love like the Abide app. It uses like scriptures and stuff to help you meditate and just like center yourself. So I do a lot of that as well when I'm just feeling a disconnect from God, or even just like turning on some praise music and like turning it up loud, that and like singing super loud. That helps me a ton too. So yeah, you're not alone if you're feeling this like weird disconnect, because I'm feeling it too. Other than that, like, I've just been really focused on doing what God's asking of me, and spending lots of time with my dogs, with the nice weather. We've had some fall weather, we've had some back to summer weather, and so we've been spending a ton of time outside, which also helps me to feel more connected to God, like when I go hiking and see the nature and stuff like that. And sometimes like if I'm just feeling this big disconnect from God, I need to do that. And a couple weeks ago I was feeling this way as well, and I went, and we have this like hiking trail that has a waterfall near us, so I went on that, and I just felt like God telling me to like leave my phone and like music and all of that in the car. So I left everything in the car, just took my keys, and I just like walked, and I just really felt him like telling me so much stuff. Like I just felt like I was so much more connected since I didn't bring like my headphones and wasn't like listening to anything. And I just felt him tell me to like sit down and just like breathe and look around and stuff. And again, this was a couple weeks ago, but I also felt him just say like, it's not time yet for certain things, and like be ready when I call you, and just take time to be with me. And so that was really nice, and I feel like maybe I need to kind of go by myself again and walk, because when I take my dogs, you know, like, they are kind of a distraction. So sometimes I just have to go by myself and walk and spend time in nature. So maybe that's what you need to do too if you're feeling some kind of disconnect. With, you know, September being almost over, I cannot believe that. I'm starting to get excited for fall and all that is coming with it. Me and my husband, we always go to like the apple orchards, and we are actually doing our first 5K together this year. He's a runner. He was in cross country when he was like in high school and stuff, but I'm not a runner, so we've been training for this since April, and man, this is a huge way that I've been seeing God like work in my life. It's amazing the things that God can work through. And I made like a Christian running playlist, because initially I was like listening to secular music, and it was nothing bad. Like, it was like country and like some pop, but it had like nothing bad in it. But I just really felt like God telling me to change my playlist. And I don't listen to a lot of secular music. A majority, I would say 95% of the time I listen to Christian music, and then there's like a 5% that I listen to other music. And I changed my running playlist, and it's so much easier to like run when I'm listening to that versus what I was listening to. And then also, because we're training for a 5K, I run like that in 40 minutes about, and I get so bored sometimes listening to my worship music, so I've started praying while I run. And that has been like life-changing. Like, praying and just bringing God into my run has been really cool to see the ways he just, you know, helps me through it and just lifts me up, especially when I'm like, God, I can't do this, like, help me to keep going. That's been really cool. And then also just like praying for my friends and family as I'm running, it like, I don't know, it pushes me to like run faster for some reason. So yeah, God can work through anything, and you can bring God into anything. So if you work out or something like that, you can totally make that time for God, like with prayer, with bringing worship music into that while you're like running or lifting weights or whatever it might be. And yeah, you can bring God into that. So whatever you might be doing, if you're cleaning, you can bring God into it. You can pray and listen to worship music while you're doing that. You can listen to a sermon, all things like, so you can bring God into anything. So yeah, God's really been working through my life through that as well. Yeah, too bad nobody jumped on. Gotta totally ask some questions and stuff, but again, we can try to do this live some other time, and maybe we can have some people on. You guys can ask me questions, faith-based or whatever you might be wondering, and we can kind of talk about scheduling something like that. I can maybe throw something in the next YouTube video, and I hope that through this, God spoke to you, and that you guys continue to want to be a part of this community, because, you know, I love just growing together in our faith. And yeah, like, I'm here to help you in whatever way that I can, and continue to just lift you up in your faith and all of that stuff. So I hope you guys have a good night, a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!